Lashman gonna get you! Sorry about that. Here's my review of Cameron McCaslin's The Lashman.
If there's something out there looking for us, I hope they find us.
I'd like to point out that this is the first film that I have watched more than once in order to give an adequate review here on Count Drahoon's Festival of Fright. And the reason why I say that is because I'll be totally honest with you. The first time that I watched this movie, I really wasn't sure what to make of it. From a technical standpoint, this movie it's kind of subpar. The cinematography, though I must say I like the look of it, it gives it a sort of a videotape looking quality to it, making it look like maybe this movie was shot sometime in the 80s or early 90s. I felt that the cinematography and the editing were very erratic. What I mean by that is, for instance, there was a scene in which the sheriff and the sheriff's deputies were all talking in the woods. They had uncovered the murder from the opening scene. And it looked as if the entire scene were shot at different points of the day. And it sort of made the background noise not match up quite well. And the lighting was a little off because some parts of the scene would be sunnier than others, even though it was the same scene. Does that make any sense? But I'm sure if you watch it, you'll understand what I mean. And of course, with the editing, sometimes the cuts were not quite precise enough. Sometimes you would have these very pregnant pauses in between the dialogue that really slow the overall pacing of the film down. And I felt that the movie focused a little too much on the relationships of the younger people staying at the cabin. But in all interest of fairness, it was probably set up that way because the filmmakers of the movie were a little afraid that maybe the budget would not allow them to have enough special effects to create adequate slasher scenes. Of course, they did have murder scenes in the movie, and they were done quite well, I might add. The blood and the look of despair and pain, simply beautiful. Of course, I could be wrong about what I just said. But, however, overall, I have to say that this movie was very entertaining. And you do know that this is the biggest thing with your good friend Count Drahoon. The film had a good story. And you know that your favorite vampire enjoys a good story. I mean, I've never heard of a horror film that combined the slasher genre with Western. I mean, that's an original concept in and of itself. And sure, some of the dialogue in the script, it was a little hokey, but in my interview with Cameron and in watching the movie again, you start to realize that the hokiness is what makes the movie. And let's face it, I have no room to talk. I'm very hokey. I put the hoke and hokey. That doesn't make any sense. Don't use that one. Anyway, it has a good story. And this is Cameron McCaslin's first feature-length film. And the makers of this movie, including Herr Director McCaslin, they had limited resources. And in that regard, in regard of using what they had, they did the very best they could. They used every resource that they had to the fullest potential. So not only was the story good, the props and the set designs were immaculate. I mean, they had real sheriff's deputy costumes and cars and, you know, the locations were real locations. He even said, you know, they actually used a real cowboy town to use the western scenes. Of course, all of the costumes were top-notch, including Stacey Dixon's. And the Lashman scenes were actually really cool. I'm using a lot of modern jargon lately, but anyway. I especially like the scene when we actually first see the Lashman. Not in the western scene, but in the scene afterward where he looks in on the young couple doing things. The way that the Lashman was shot, he's got sort of a bluish tint. It makes him look like he's there, but he's really not there, and he's kind of a ghost. It was really nice. But, I have to say, one of my favorite parts of the movie, other than the Lashman part, was Larry Dr. Gangrene Underwood's portrayal of Eustace, and his immortal line, "Lashman gonna get ya!"
Lashman will get you! Get you!
It inspired me to write a country and western song. Lashman gonna get ya. Lashman gonna get ya. Lashman gonna get ya. Lashman gonna get ya. I'm gonna have to work on my role as a lyricist a little bit better. So, that is my review of Cameron McCaslin's The Lashman, and I highly recommend it. Be sure to join me next week for my review of Frankenstein's Army. Until then, as far as things go, when things go bump in the night, there are such things.